Top
Sure.
5 sleepers for Rutgers in 2025.
Yeah, James Madison is an academic school. South Florida, not necessarily an academic school, but still solid, and got some great players on that defensive front. And the defensive front this year is going to be critical to Rutgers' success. And I love people whose middle name is a color. So I like Doug Blue Eli on the defensive line, transfer from South Florida.
Technically a hyphenated name, but I'll give you that.
Oh, yeah, the hyphen is all right. You know what? It takes a second longer to say his name, but it's worth it. Because I think on that defensive line, he's going to be a stud this year. South Florida is always a very physical team. Last year, Alabama only had 14 points after the third quarter against them. Doug Blue Eli, an invaluable addition to that defensive line this year for Rutgers.
Yeah, definitely a great talking point. He's a sleeper in that he went to a school known for its brains, and he's a sleeper in the sense that we don't know too much about his game or how he will perform, but he's listed as a starter, and he's got some decent numbers, so we'll have to see. My number 5 is a guy you mentioned previously as the first of your 2 running backs in running back by committee, and that is Antoine Raymond. Because C.J. Campbell, like I said, he's not going to be the only guy getting the ball in the backfield. It's going to be Raymond too, and we're going to see Samuel Brown get some touches, Jashaun Benjamin towards the end of the year get some touches. Like, it's a running back by committee, and the committee is not 1 or 2 or 3 guys, it's 4. And the next man up in that committee, at least on the depth chart, is Antoine Raymond. And, sophomore coming in, he learned it behind Monangai. He knows the culture already. He saw the heartbreak of last year. He saw the flashes of dominance last year. And there's no doubt that when he gets his number called, 4th and 1, 3rd and 4, or, if CJ goes down, which cross our fingers, we don't want that to happen, but running back is the most injured position in the sport. He's going to be next up. And I think he's got the trust of Shiano too. So he's my number 5.
That's a good call there. All right, let's go on to number 4. One of the things I love about Las Vegas is the slot machines. I love playing the slots, and I really like UNLV's campus. It reminds me of the early 90s with Jerry Tarkanian chewing on that towel as they got upset by Duke in the Final Four in their quest for a repeat national title. Another gentleman at UNLV, Jet Elon, is coming over from where? UNLV. And he is going to really fortify that secondary. And along with Cam Miller, Rutgers is going to be tough to throw on. And with a strong defensive line, they're going to be tough to run on. So this could be a special year for Rutgers. What do you think about Jet?
Oh, so bad that I had to leave the room. No, I think he's great. And, we hope that he stays around this year. By the way, I put that gambling line down under in case you need it for loving Las Vegas.
Oh, yes. I don't have a gambling problem, but I do wish I had hit the jackpot once in a while. But anyway.
That would be nice, yeah. I digress. I think he's great. He's got some drama going on in the NCAA. He's suing them for eligibility. He's a redshirt senior. I'm guessing that he wants to play one more year after this because Shiano said that he expects him to play this year and that it shouldn't be a big deal. But, yeah, obviously a huge impact player, our starting free safety. My number 4, it's one of the few guys on defense coming back next year, Jordan Thompson. And he's not starting, but he is listed as left defensive end, and he's going to be still seeing the field, obviously, because he's a senior, redshirt senior, and, he's all like him, Zaire Angoy, Doug Blue Eli, Eric O'Neill. These guys are all redshirt seniors. So in theory, hopefully they're all really good to the point where we can recycle their usage. And he's one of the few on the defensive end or the defense in general that actually knows or has experience, rather, as a Scarlet Knight.
Absolutely. That's a good choice. Let's go on to number 3. Tight ends are really underrated. So you got some tight ends out there. If they can block and if they can run a 4.6, even a 4.7, they can be a factor, especially on third downs. It's about time for Colin Weaver to break out. And I think he's going to do it this year. I think he's going to be one of those situational players that can be effective in complementing the passing game. I think he's a good blocker, and I think it's Colin's time to shine. I got him at number 3 as a sleeper impact player. What do you think?
That's a great pick. He was listed as the number 9 transfer tight end this year, which is – sorry, I almost dropped my water bottle there. That would have been a disaster. But, yeah, I think that he's going to do some great things for us in the run game too. He's a great blocker, and he'll be good for the check down pass, the deep ball that might be going towards Duff or Strong, or if DT sees himself get the ball and then run up field. But maybe he'll get a target or two in deep coverage, and we'll see how he does with that. But for me, this guy seems like a great blocker, and he's got some good receiving numbers too. God bless your soul. So I think it's a great pick. But I didn't go with him because, to me, I kind of can already guess how he'll be, which is dominant for a tight end at Rutgers, because we haven't really had a great tight end. Honestly, no shade to anyone who has played tight end at Rutgers, but I can't remember if we've ever had an elite one per se. So he might be the best tight end since 2000 that we've had.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think he's going to be he's definitely a sleeper, and I think it's going to be an offense that defenses are really going to have to contend with. And you never know what could happen in Columbus in the Horseshoe. I'm telling you, we've got the players.
Well, I mean, we're due for an upset or two right after last year's heartbreak.
Yes. But don't mention Illinois.
No. I mean, that's far
that.
from the only heartbreak, but at least we got let down easy a few other games. But my number 3, I've already mentioned him, but I'm not talking about him in the same instance. I'm talking about DT Sheffield, the return man, as my number 3.
Wow.
Because, special teams, super underrated. It determines field position. If it's the last play of the game or the second to last play of the game, it can determine the whole game.
Yeah.
People love to blame the kickers. People love to praise kickers. No one talks about these return men unless they're top of the notch. Unless they're upper echelon, no one talks about them. And I think people are going to talk about DT as an elite return man because he averaged 18 yards per punt return with North Texas, right? For punt returns, you got to create a lot of space to get more than 5 yards. And he was averaging 18. People don't even average 18 yards returning kicks in some programs. So we're going to have a great, if the ball gets touched at the 10, I expect him to bring it back to at least the 20, if not the 30, maybe get 1 or 2 touchdowns that way. So to me, he's a good enough return man to where he's top 3 sleeper player when it comes to the return game.
That's a good call there. I like that. Very insightful. All right, so we're going to go to number 2 here. And, I'm going to go to somebody who's 6'6", 220, 27 receptions for 425 yards last year and a touchdown. KJ Duff. KJ, you're a big part of that receiving core this year, and I think he's going to have a breakout year. And combined with DT Sheffield and Ben Black and their other receivers, they're going to have a very formidable wide receiving unit. And, KJ had some great catches last year, showed a lot of promise as a freshman. I think the progress he makes this year makes him likely an impact player.
Yeah, like I said, this receiving core is one of the best we've had in a long time, maybe since those early mid-2000s days, right? We've definitely had our share of weapons, but when it comes to overall receiving core, we might have the best we've had since Chiano's first stint with the team.
I agree with you on that one. Who's your number 2?
With that being said, my number 2 is also a receiver, but it's not Duff, it's not DT, and shout out Ben Black. It's not Ben Black either. It's Ian Strong. So he's coming in. This is going to be his 3rd year in the NCAA, right? He went from 16 catches to 43 last year, 230 yards to 676. So he went up in his average yards per catch, and he got 5 touchdowns out of it. And for me, I expect him to be a sleeper player in the sense that everyone looks at KJ Duff as the guy when it comes to the receiving core. Everyone looks at DT as, Tyreek Hill, basically a Tyreek Hill, from the early days of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll see if he can become the latter days of the Chiefs/Dolphins days. And they also look at Ben Black as a rising prospect, but no one is talking about Ian Strong and how consistent he is, especially after last year, how we can rely on him when no one else is showing up in the receiving game. And we have more options now, which means that his impact will be felt more because he'll be open more.
Yeah, I think that's a great choice and very well reasoned. Now, number one, well, not number one, but the last one on my sleeper impact here, again, comes from James Madison. 6'2", 295 last year on that defensive line for James Madison, 28 tackles and 6 tackles for loss. I don't think I'm going to pronounce it right, but nonetheless, this guy has the chance to be a star. It's called Daryl Denagohi from James Madison on defensive line. And if that defensive line really shines, it's going to be a really winning year for Rutgers. What do you think?
It's great. I mean, he's listed as second in the defensive tackle, but I mean, he'll still play all the time. And, unfortunately, the defensive line is probably the second most when it comes to injuries behind running back. So,
absolutely.
And also, depending on what system we use, because we may switch from being a 4-3 to a 3-4, so on. But if we have like a 4-3, he's going to be out there every play. So I couldn't agree more. And, all these James Madison guys, maybe they'll bring some more smarts to the defense. What do you think?
I think that when you got a player who has brains and athleticism, you have the recipe for national championship. I mean, let's look at J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. Perfect example.
Absolutely. And my number one, sticking with the defense, redshirt junior from obviously, Rutgers University, because that's what we're doing here. Jacoby Henderson, my number one. 27 solo tackles. Impressive. Could improve, but, he's listed as so he's actually a cornerback by position. But 27 tackles is very good for us. And, 2 interceptions, solid, 10 pass deflections. That's very solid. We have a lot of corners to the point where we know Cam Miller is going to start, and we know that Bo Masco should see a lot of touches too. But Jacoby Henderson, he's sort of rounding out the unit. And if his play is solid, then, he should have a very, very good year. And a lot of people are sleeping on his impact because of the aforementioned players.
Absolutely. Well, I think this is a great list. And, it's all going to come down to the defense. And I feel comfortable with the players that we've brought in. Better size, better smarts, better speed, more experience to complement what should be a great offense. And with Coach Schiano, Coach Schiano is a defensive guy. So I think Coach Schiano is going to really have that defense ready to play. And if they can avoid injuries, then it could be a special year for Rutgers leading into the 2026 magical season.
We got a lot of odds stacked up against us, but I know that our players are embracing that.
Yep, and I love the team-oriented focus that they have and the winning mentality. That's a culture that can prove vital if they're going to have a shot to make the playoffs and compete in the Big Ten.